Hey there, it's Colt Cabana. Thank you so much for checking out the past shows from the archives of the Art of Wrestling. There have been some ads that have been placed throughout the episode, but if you want to listen to every single episode ever done dating back to 2010, ad-free with zero ads, it's only $4 a month on my Patreon. That's patreon.com/Colt Cabana. All right, enjoy the show.
This is the Art of Wrestling with professional wrestler Colt Cabana.
All right, how you guys doing? Come on in, sit down, relax. You're about to listen to the Art of Wrestling, a professional wrestling podcast. It's a life podcast. It's a personal journal. It's an entryway to the minds, the souls, the hearts, and the lives of the people involved in the world of professional wrestling. I am your host. My name is Colt Cabana. I'm a podcaster. I'm virus-free. I'm a streamer. I'm a goddamn streamer. I'm an Among Us winner. I'm a Fall Guys crown winner twice now. Never on stream, obviously. Can't do it when the pressure's on. But most importantly, actually, I am a professional wrestler, and I am coming to you live from my studio apartment in Chicago, Illinois. Before I go any further, this is fan-supported and listener-supported podcast supported by people just like you. We give it to you free of charge every other Thursday. ColtCabana.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts from. Couple great ways that you can support, rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Tell a friend. Tweet it out. Facebook it out. Make a TikTok about it. The best way that you can support, though, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com, and Patreon.com/Colt Cabana, where for only $4 a month, you can listen to over 10 years of past archives ad-free. And for $1 extra, I've got videos, special segments, acting gigs, and so much more. And then for $5 extra, I'll give you a shout-out at the very end of this podcast. And I will send you a collector's AOW selfie photo pin each month. This month is me and Jamie Dundee from episode 120 back in 2012. These are all great ways to support myself and the podcast. And the podcast has upgraded a little bit. Some of you are watching it on my Patreon. You are watching the actual video. You are seeing me on the video. You are watching me talk into this very nice mic. You noticed how the audio is a little bit better, and that's because I'm putting back into the system. What is the system? I don't know. I just made that term up, sounded right at the time. Let's talk about the guests who are part of the system. The system being I talk on a podcast with my friends. It used to be every week for basically 8 years, and then I roamed around for a year, and then I was like, this is a little too stressful, and then now I'm here just whenever I want to, and it couldn't have come at a better time because there is absolutely no way that I could have talked in person during this global pandemic that we are still in. Good Lord, that we are still in. I don't know what I would have done. I don't think I would have want to have done Zooms. I've noticed a lot of my favorite podcasts are doing Zooms, and some of them I'm like, I'm not even really interested in this one anymore, which is not a knock on doing podcasts over Zoom, but I don't know. For me, it's in person, hanging out and talking. I did do a podcast on Zoom called The Doughboys, which I do recommend. They review the world of chain restaurants, not to be confused with chain wrestling, and I ate Potbellies, not with them. I ordered it separately, brought it back to my house, and Nick Weiger and Mike Mitchell are two very funny comedians based out of LA, and I recommend you find that podcast where you get podcasts. That's called The Doughboys, but this podcast is The Art of Wrestling. Today's guests are proud and powerful, not just proud and powerful human beings. Look at my way trying to transition into whatever that is. Santana and Ortiz are on the podcast this week, fresh off of a 5-star match from Dave Meltzer, and I'm going to give you a shoot. I'm going to defend Dave Meltzer. Is that the craziest thing a wrestler has done in 2020? Defend Dave Meltzer. I should talk about Santana and Ortiz. Let me talk about them first of all. Two of my favorite wrestlers. We'll talk about it in the talk itself, but I've been watching them get so much better and better, and they have really come into their own. And not only have they come into their own, but I can't wait till they come more into their own in 5 years, in 7 years, in 10 years. They're going to be the leaders of the wrestling scene for sure. They were a hot get. AEW snatched them up And again, that's essentially what we are doing here. We are promoting AEW. All of the wrestlers on this season are from AEW, All Elite Wrestling, every single Wednesday night on TNT, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Also, AEW Dark. That's mostly where you can find my matches. AEW YouTube channel. And it's a good talk with Proud and Powerful, both Santana and Ortiz at the same time. Sometimes it's hard to navigate these. This is a 3-person in one, and sometimes I feel a little bit bad where I've got to shift to one person and then shift to the other, then the other partner isn't talking. I know I did the exact same thing with Shane Thorne and Mikey Nichols back in the day when I did a tour with them for Pro Wrestling Noah. It's not necessarily the ideal thing, but for this series, I wanted this tag team on, and I wanted to hear their story together because essentially a lot of it's been together. We get into it. You'll hear it all. Santana and Ortiz, one of my favorite tag teams. Essentially all AEW. I don't want to make this an AEW ass-kissing fest, but for so many different reasons. The Lucha Brothers, the best. Butcher and Blade, the style on those two, immaculate. Young Bucks, that's a given. Can I tell you how much of a fan I've become of FTR? I was a fan of them before, but watching them in person, fuck, they are good. SCU, I mean, Sky, Daniels, but Kazarian, why doesn't Frankie Kazarian get the credit that he deserves? Has kept a job in wrestling for over 2 decades, a high-profile job, still unbelievable. And Proud and Powerful, let's add them to the list. They're in the list, they're in the mix. And there's like a couple other tag teams that I didn't even mention. Best Friends, Dark Order, Reynolds and Silver, so on and so forth. You get the idea. All right, should I defend Dave Meltzer? Everybody's shitting on Dave Meltzer. Here's the thing. This isn't something new. The same way I look at the Insane Clown Posse. They started their own thing. They are their own bosses, and people love what they do. And however they've done it, they've gained the respect of their following over the years. And so they deserve all the money and all the success and all the power or whatever it is. Dave Meltzer, in sports, there's sports talk radio. We all love this Bill Simmons dude. We all love Bryant Gumbel or whatever. I mean, I don't know if we all love Bryant Gumbel, but he's a person that people like. So Dave Meltzer's been watching wrestling for a long time. The guy's a journalist. The guy is a good writer. And he's built this platform that people have subscribed to physically over the years and now digitally. And his word is not the gospel, but it's his opinion. And he goes on a thing just like so many of you do. Even if it's just Twitter, you're putting out your thoughts. I mean, so many people shit on me on Twitter, and so Dave Meltzer could shit on people. It's a thing that he has, a platform, except this platform is something that he has gained over the years and years based off of knowledge and history and homework. The guy does homework. It's one person's view who built up a platform for himself. And you know what? If I'm a professional and there's somebody who's put that many hours into watching wrestling, it is art. Pro wrestling is art. But his opinion, it's pretty good. The guy's seen 8 billion hours worth of wrestling. Pretty good. Same with Mike Johnson. Same with John Pollock. And so Dave Meltzer, a guy who likes wrestling, put on his website that he thought Proud and Powerful versus Best Friends was a 5-star match, which in wrestling, a totally subjective art form, means something to some people and nothing to some people. But that was his opinion, and people listened to it. And good for him. He could say it. I respect it. You don't have to, but don't get mad at him for putting a thing on his thing. You all put things on your thing. You all do. He just has more people looking at things that he's putting on his thing. Did it get weird? All good. I still haven't talked about my COVID thoughts. I went in this big Meltzer rant. Why did I do that? I got checked for COVID 2 days ago. Negative. I mean, we get tested at AEW, but I got an extra one up my nostril from some Chicago doctors. Negative. I take it very real. I told my real life friend the other day that I'm a real COVID bitch boy. I wear my mask always over my nose. I get super anxiety over everybody not wearing it over their nose. Someone said on Twitter there's more deaths in car accidents than there is in COVID deaths. Well, guess what? We're doing stuff to prevent car accidents. I wear my seatbelt. There is an airbag. I check the mirrors. And I'm also doing stuff to try to not get COVID or spread COVID to others. I wear my mask over my nose. It's been proven. That's how you get it. Droplets out of your mouth and your nose. Droplets into your mouth and your nose. Wear a fucking mask. I got new Matt Classic t-shirts that say Mask Classic with a masked Matt Classic wearing a mask. Say that 25 times fast. That's at ProWrestlingTees.com/Colt Cabana. And I got more to say, but maybe we'll save it for the next episode. I do have a Song of the Week this week. We're bringing it back. We'll play a little bit of the Song of the Week. It's Rocky Romero with a song called T-Shirt Trap that he has basically written after me. I'm just going to play you a little bit of the song, and then you could go watch the video on YouTube. It's over on the Talking Shop YouTube account. Go listen to Rocky, Luke, and Chad on their Talking Shop podcast. But for now, this is T-Shirt Trap by Rocky Romero, and then we'll be back with Santana and Ortiz.
T-shirt trap, caught up in the trap, mixing up the merch while Chico catch a rap, straight trapping. I'm straight trapping, I'm straight trapping. T-shirt trap, caught up in the trap, mixing up the merch while Chico catch a rap, straight trapping. I'm straight trapping, I'm straight trapping. I'm talking Godfather kind of shit. I'm talking Freeway Ricky Ross, them kind of hits. Cabana showed us how to mix it up and make us rich. I straight G to the indie merch scene. Bought a studio apartment, the art of wrestling. Cooking up the product, now we can live the dream. Godfather Cabana, what is the key to your success?
That is a really good question, Young Rock. We always use tri-blend, good-looking images. We never upsell. We stay honest, Rocky. We stay honest.
All these boys and girls making money from a silk screen. Making money from a silk screen. T-shirt trap, caught up in the trap. Mixing up the merch while Chico catch a...
Hello, friends. Welcome. Another beautiful night in the Hyatt Hotel. This has been the host of the series of this podcast. Your thoughts and rates and reviews on Hyatt hotels. For me, the Wi-Fi is god-awful.
Oh, it's terrible.
I don't know how you feel about it.
It's horrendous.
I hate it. I was trying to play my Nintendo Switch and I couldn't, like online.
Not even possible.
No.
Yeah, I've been having trouble streaming. That's my... Now that I'm a streamer, it's my new thing. You guys, are you game players?
I'm a game player.
You're a game player?
He doesn't... He watches documentaries and
Yeah.
listens to music.
And the last game system I played consistently was probably N64.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm more with you. And Ortiz, you're what? Just
I play everything.
all day, every day?
Yeah.
All right.
Vintage, classic, new shit, everything. Yeah.
Okay. What I do remember, and I'm going to say you have a better memory of this, so if you can remind everybody.
Sure.
Is I'm pretty sure you partook on the Art of Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
In Brooklyn.
Yes, of course.
Hole
Yeah.
in the wall.
What was
We
your...
rapped.
What was it again?
We rapped. You had me rap, I think, Crime Times.
I was going to say it was something because of Brooklyn, I assume. Yes.
Yeah.
Did it go down okay?
No, it was terrible. I have no musical skill whatsoever.
And why did you get chosen as the rapper?
I don't remember.
I think you saw him randomly. You were like,
You're the rapper.
Yeah,
Come here.
I think so. It was something like that. Yeah.
You still had the fro.
Oh, maybe you had the giant fro, and I was
Yeah.
very attracted to the fro, not in a sexual way, but in a way that makes me go oh, that person has a giant fro. It's pretty great, which is probably a great selling point. Why you still have it?
Yeah.
You're
That's
right.
my whole career. It's the only reason why I got over it was the hair.
Is the man with the giant fro?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I always felt bad. I don't know if you, I've been around Carlito a lot. And it's just a lot to maintain.
It is. I hate it. I want to cut it. Honestly, I want to cut it, but I keep it because of wrestling.
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah. Thankfully to my girlfriend, she's the one that maintains it for me. If it wasn't for that, it would have fell out a long time ago.
It just fallen out.
Yeah.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm thinning already, so
Ooh.
yeah, I'm not gonna hold on to it. Once it gets really bad, I'm going bald.
Okay. And you're how old?
I'm 33.
33.
Yeah.
Santana?
29.
Yeah. How you doing with the hair? Okay.
Pretty good.
Yeah. It looks good.
Except for all the white hairs coming out now. But other than that,
Ooh, that's a problem.
I mean, my girl likes it. Salt and pepper.
right?
Yeah, she's all about
Yeah,
it.
but in
so.
5 years when it's all white. See, the salt and pepper phase is good.
If I look anything like my grandfather by that time, I'm okay with this.
Okay.
Yeah,
You could be a silver fox.
He's a G. So
Yeah, exactly.
he's a G.
And he has a full head of hair. It's just, he's great.
Yeah, he's what, 75 and still has a full head of hair.
I saw a guy. I went to the lake this week.
Yeah.
And with my buddy, and I was like, "How old do you think that guy is?" He's like, "Oh, I know." He goes, "He's in his like mid 40s," and I was like, "Oh." I thought I was like, that guy looks great for 65 or 70. And he did not. He was not. Okay, 2011. I'm going to say that thing was 2011.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The podcast. And you guys were just tykes in wrestling at that point, or maybe not.
We were only a couple of years in, and we maybe were tagging a year at that point, maybe 2.
Barely. Yeah, we were barely tagging at that time. Like, we were...
we had just started tagging around that time, so yeah. And we've been tagging 10 years, so that's probably year 1 or 2, if that. Yeah.
Yeah. And was that year... Who started... Did you guys start together? No way you guys grew up together.
Yeah. We did. We met doing backyard wrestling when we were teenagers.
Is that right?
Yeah. When we were teenagers, yeah.
I love it.
That's how we met, yeah.
What was the backyard... Okay, well, where are you guys from individually?
I'm from...
Santana.
Originally, I'm from Lower East Side, Manhattan.
Okay.
And
what borough is that?
That's in Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I still don't get the borough. I just know the word borough.
Yeah. I live in the Bronx now, but I'm originally from the LES.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I moved around as a kid, but eventually, mainly my whole life is Manhattan.
Manhattan.
The Upper West Side. I've lived there.
When I think Manhattan, I
chunk
just
of my
think
life.
of just like the middle of New York, right? Is that not right?
I was just about almost the middle of New York, or whatever, New York City, because the middle of New York would be like upstate New York.
I'm thinking of
like Central New
Times
York.
Square.
I wasn't too far away
I
from
just
Times
assume
Square.
you were
Yeah.
born in Times Square.
I was really close to Times Square, though.
Were you guys, when you were young, was Times Square shit, or had it been like a thing?
It was coming up. It was like, it was in the 90s, it was still shit, but it was like, that's when they started bringing, I guess, they started really like hyping up the Broadway plays and putting like a lot of McDonald's and stuff like that. Like, I guess that's what.
How are we going to make our town cool?
Yeah.
Put a McDonald's in it.
I vividly remember in the early 90s, I was maybe 5 or 6, but I remember seeing a prostitute for the first time on Times Square. We were on like...
You were 5 or 6 seeing prostitutes already?
Yeah, well,
That's amazing.
we were just walking through Times Square, you know what I mean? But Times Square was notorious.
What did
for
you do?
that back in the
Take
day.
your allowance?
No, you could just see I was walking with my older sister at
And
the
you
time.
saw
my
a
father.
prostitute?
We were just walking by.
Oh, okay.
But I knew just the stereotypical what they wear. You know what I mean? They were wearing like the leather, plastically. I don't even know what that is. Right? The latex kind of.
Yeah. Pleather almost?
Yeah, pleather.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Latex.
Yeah, whatever the fake leather is. But I remember her kind of like looking for Johns. You know what I mean? Like standing in the corner. I'm like, why is this woman like half naked? You know, just standing there. But
And that's notorious New York. Like in your young nostalgic head, that's New York City, right?
Oh yeah. Times Square used to be a mess,
Yeah.
like really bad. But then Giuliani kind of really cleaned it up. The whole entire city.
Shut it down.
Yeah,
And he's now kind of a shithead now, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know.
He went from like a legend to a shithead?
Yeah, New Yorkers loved him back in the day. He did great things for the city.
That could sum up New Yorkers, though. Just like 1 minute you're the best, and 1 minute you're fucking nutsos,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, well, he's a New Yorker. There you go.
Yeah. And then, Santana, you moved to the Bronx.
So I also moved around a lot,
Yeah.
but I was born and raised in Lower East Side. Moved to the Bronx and Harlem as a young kid and a teenager, and then from there moved to Staten Island. And in Staten Island, I started training.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I want to get before to backyard wrestling, though.
Oh, that was in Harlem. Yeah.
Yeah, that was mainly in Harlem.
And so, Ortiz, you were in Harlem also?
No, well, I was living where I was living, but we somehow got together. So the Backyard Wrestling Company got on public access TV, right?
Okay,
so,
hold on. There's a company?
Yeah, well,
Not just your
company. Yes,
Which is,
The Fed.
yeah.
I don't know. Where I'm from, I just what I think of when I hear backyard wrestling, I think I sometimes I think of a lot of things, but I also think of like Zack Ryder had like a whole company, and he was also a New Yorker. I just wonder if there was 10,000
There was a lot.
backyard
There was a
independent
lot.
wrestling.
So, to not go too long with it, but there was a guy, the place where we ended up wrestling and meeting, he kind of scouted the other backyard wrestling companies and would bring in the top dudes, and through instant messenger, through AIM, you would kind of get, and then YouTube was just kind of getting popular.
It's not stupid. Like, it makes all the sense in the world. If you run a wrestling school and you're like, that's probably the best place to get it, but it does seem kind of creepy if you're a guy scouting like kids in their backyard.
Well, he was a kid too. We were all kids.
Yeah, everybody
we were
was
all
around
kids.
the same age.
But the guy who ran it was a little older. He was like a little older, but we're all around the same age. And he was just people. I don't even know how it happened. He would just reach out to people. People would reach out to him. It's just we had a little bit of a clout because we were on public access. So people would just be like, we would come in at 1 a.m. on the public access channel and be like, what the hell is this?
Who had
for
the
30
equipment
minutes?
for that? Because that's always
That was all straight like
that's the tech
VHS
guys
camera.
that we don't know how to do it though, right?
Well, it was really fortunate because all we needed was a VHS tape. So they had the old school camcorders with the VHS that you could record in VHS.
So
like
it wasn't
huge
much
ones.
of a production though.
No, not at all. It looked terrible, but
He did the graphics at home.
yeah, he would do graphics. He figured that out.
And is he still in the biz?
No,
Man,
unfortunately.
I wish.
Such a smart guy.
Too soon, you know.
Such a smart guy.
to have the vision of putting graphics and then putting it on cable access.
Yeah, exactly.
Which cable? There was. I was once on New York cable access. I was on MNN. Do you know that
that's
one?
where we were at.
Is that right?
Yeah, Manhattan Neighborhood Network.
Uh-huh.
I had a friend, Chris Gethard, who had a public access show. He was on Comedy Central. He had his own show on Comedy Central. It got fired, and then he started a public access show.
There you go.
Yeah,
I think out of like a piss take almost, and then it was successful, and I was on it.
That's awesome.
And so we've shared the airwaves, boys.
Yeah.
We've shared the airwaves.
Eminem,
All right, tell me about Santana. I know you've told me before you're a Bret Hart guy. Just like if you guys want to tell me kind of like the family situation growing up and who liked wrestling or where you found the wrestling in the family.
My grandparents got me into wrestling, actually. So my dad and my uncle were huge fans as kids. So my grandparents would always record the pay-per-views on VHS and stuff. So when I was born, I pretty much grew up with all those 80s VHS tapes, and then they kept it going with me and stuff.
And what kind of fan were they? Like,
the crazy generic
Like-
Puerto Rican fan that are like, they want all the baby faces to win.
they were
and
into
then-
it.
Oh yeah,
so
100%. Yeah,
and would rewatch the tapes a million times or not?
100%. Yes.
And then why did they never want to? Did they ever try to get into wrestling? Did you ever ask them about it?
No. No,
Well, who was it?
I have a great
uncle?
uncle
Yeah.
that was a professional wrestler.
Is that right?
Yeah, in like the 70s and 80s. Yeah, he was a local indie in New York.
Is he alive?
Yeah.
Do you talk to him about it?
Yeah. I have pictures and everything.
What was his experiences?
It was great. He came up with like Johnny Rods and a lot of the old school guys from New York, and he you ever heard of Arena Puerto Rico and stuff like that from New York, where like Homicide started? And
Okay.
So pretty much him and
Doghouse.
Yeah, pre-Doghouse. Like him and all his friends, pretty much. Like Johnny Rods, him.
It's a cool name. Arena Puerto Rico.
Yeah, and it was in the back of a bodega.
Okay.
Like it was the most like hood shit ever. But yeah, he started doing that, and he just did local indies and
What
stuff
was
like
his
that.
gimmick?
At El
his name?
Champolín.
A Jumpoline.
Yeah.
Which means what?
It's like
I assume the champion, but I was way wrong.
like a jumping bean, like
Okay.
a Chapulín. Like
Trampoline?
he did a lot of
Oh.
he did like high fly stuff.
Okay.
and
And
stuff.
has he come and watched your stuff?
He has not, no. But he watches on TV and stuff. So it's
He
pretty
never
cool.
came to a local show.
No,
Am I digging?
because
too
he
deep
lives in Connecticut.
there? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, he's always telling me like whenever we start traveling again and we're up in the Northeast,
Yeah.
he definitely wants to come.
Did he ever try to give you tips or anything?
No,
Nothing.
He's just is super.
You don't think that's weird? Now that we bring it up, your uncle was a pro wrestler and never slid you any advice.
No, honestly, he was more like happy that someone else in the family was like
Right.
into it, and because everyone else thought he was like crazy and nuts and always and he was like, oh well,
And they were right, but
well yeah,
El Trampoline.
but yeah, and then and we just connected maybe like a few years ago, and because he's my dad's uncle, and like my dad's side of the family I'm not too close with.
Gotcha.
And like I didn't really grow up around him and stuff like that. So once he found out that I was wrestling when I was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, and then from then
we were probably in Impact, right?
Yeah, we were Impact.
Yeah, I remember that.
So then you've been liking wrestling just since a kid.
I think the first time I saw wrestling, I was like 4 years old.
Yeah. And did you ever bounce out of it, or did you always stay in it?
I bounced out when I got into the stupid street shit as a kid, like as a teenager and stuff. I say from like 2004 to like 2006 or something.
And what age would that be?
Maybe like from like 14 to 16. I was just like in another world. I wasn't really paying attention to wrestling or.
And then what brought you back?
I got into some shit. I had to move back to Staten Island because at the time I stood living with my grandmother in the city because I was going to finish school in the city, and some shit popped off that I had to leave, and I got kicked out of the school. So I moved to Staten Island with my mom, and it was just the worst. It was just worst situation and everything. I started school over there, and I ran into some guy that he was a senior, and we had the same gym class. And I remember he was changing next to me. He opened his bag, and he's taking a bunch of stuff out. And I see like wrestling tights and pads and wrestling shoes. And I was curious, so I asked him. I was like, "Yo, you a wrestler or whatever?" He was like, "Yeah, I train at the school, in Arthur Kill Road or whatever." And at that point, I was blown away. Yeah. I was like, "There's a school over here?" And he was like, "Yeah, man." And we started talking back and forth, and he was like, "Yo, you should come by one day." And
it's wrestling seems like such a grown-up thing, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Just like thinking of me in high school, like to think that there was anyone a pro wrestler would blow my mind. I'd just be like, that's what grown-ups do.
Yeah.
We were not allowed to do it. So I'm just picturing myself through you being like, what is going on?
Yeah, that was my exact reaction. I was like,
why are you holding on to the secret that we're allowed to be wrestlers under 20 years old or whatever?
Yeah. It was the rest is history after that.
What about you, my friend?
Me, not so much when I was a kid. I knew what wrestling was, but no one in my family's really into it, honestly. For me, it really hit when I was a teenager, like going into Attitude Era. And that's when everyone thought wrestling was cool. Like everyone in junior high school was just like acting like wrestlers. I remember one time specifically being in the play yard and we were acting like DX. Like we were just running around, just acting like characters and shit. But eventually
I've never heard anyone call it the play yard. But.
Playground? What do you call it?
You from New York, bro.
Recess?
You lose.
That's recess. We were hanging out during recess.
Yeah. Is that real? Did play yards a thing?
No, you lose points for that.
I guess I did.
Go on. Sorry, I sidetracked it. All right, in the play yard.
Yeah.
Being DX.
So anyways, I kind of got into wrestling doing that. I had an older cousin that I would spend summers with him. And one of his best friends was a tape trader. So he had tapes from Japan, from Mexico. He had all this gold back in the day. And
I like how it's gold.
Yeah, it was gold.
Right?
Yeah,
it's true, man. It's currency.
Best.
Yeah.
And I remember we were hanging out, and he was like, "Oh, watch this shit," and he puts on, and it's Toryumon. Up until this point, I was only exposed to WWE and WCW, and not so much. I got really into it after that, but then I saw these guys doing all this crazy shit, and I was like, "What? This is what wrestling can be."
Yeah,
and I was like, "I want to do this," and then started backyard wrestling, started doing the thing, and then honestly, I backyard wrestled for a good amount of time, up until 1920. I joined the Navy. I went to the military.
I like it. You backyard wrestled up until the year 1920 as well.
Yeah. Only Colt to pick something up like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay, you joined the military?
Yeah, I was in the Navy for a couple of years, for almost 3 years.
Did you learn a trade?
I was supposed to. long story short, I got trained, I did the job, I went to boot camp, and then you go to school afterwards for your job. I was my job, my rate, what you would call it, was a aviation support equipment technician. So I was a mechanic / electrician, and literally my job was to work on forklifts, the stuff that you would need to get the airplanes to take off on an aircraft carrier. So I worked on all that. But I didn't get to work on all that because my ship was being renovated. It's called being rehauled. So there was nothing to do. I didn't have a job to do. So I was literally a glorified janitor for about 3 years.
Oh, shit.
And it sucked because I joined the Navy to see the world. And, fast forward 10 years later, wrestling got me to see
wild.
the world.
Yeah, that's wild. And then were you like, I have a bigger calling than being in the Navy? Or how does that work? Your time's up?
Well, yeah, the contract was up. I got out. I went back home. I didn't know what I was doing. My time there, I'm the type of person, if you don't challenge me and give me something to look forward to, I become a big shitbag. Like, I'm just not into it anymore. I just get depressed and I'm just like, whatever.
You agree? You've seen this happen?
Bro, when we first got back together and we started working together, he was like a whole 750 pounds.
Yeah, I was a big boy. Yeah.
And he was, it was...
I was about 7 months pregnant.
Yeah. Legit real.
Yeah.
This is when you started tag? You mean
Right.
Yeah, right. So our first tag match, he was like 750 and a half.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. 750. That's ridiculous. Shit. Yoko size? Not even bigger than Yoko. That's crazy. But yeah, I'm just that type of person. So when I left, I honestly didn't know what I was doing. I got a job, and I was depressed. I didn't know what I was doing. And then one of my best friends, to this day, he found a wrestling school in Long Island. And he was just like, we used to backyard wrestle together. And he was like, dude, I found a wrestling school. We finally have the money. We have jobs. Let's go do it. I was resistant at first, and then he talked me into it, and the rest is history. This is where I am at.
And then
I got into the ring, and I was just like...
You guys trained at the same place? I forget.
We trained separately.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for about 3 years,
Yeah.
we both trained separately. He was in Staten Island, I was in Long Island.
And who were you guys as trainers?
I trained under Andrew Morgan. His name is Magic. He was like a local guy from Staten Island in Jersey. He was like the head trainer for JP, like when they opened up and stuff like that. Yeah.
Do you know him at all?
No, I don't.
Bigger dude, he always has a goatee.
Maybe if I saw him.
Yeah.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you...
Because he did a bunch of different gimmicks. Like he was like Carjacker, and then he was like Magic, and yeah, so...
I love it. I probably read all of them in the PWI. Good experience?
100%, yeah.
Oh, good.
He actually...
And you were... Sorry to interject, but you were kind of in a shitty place?
I was in a shitty place, and I was pretty much just trying to finish up high school and see where life took me.
And he was a good mentor?
100%. Yeah, when I first went, when the dude first took me to him, I was super excited. I was like, yo, I'm definitely interested in this. And he was like, great. I see, you're excited and you seem like for real about it. But before I train you, I want you to get your diploma. And I'll forever appreciate him for that. And he didn't like train me until I got my diploma.
I mean, not only it's good to hear stuff like that, and I haven't heard yours yet, but
it's not as cool.
I know. I was like, it could be the total opposite. I mean, obviously, we're in a time where people have talked about their, especially a lot of females have been talking about their horrible training circumstances. And that's sadly maybe more of a constant than what we would like in our training places. But also, I've talked about this with other people is just mentorship and just how I think everyone's looking like, especially when we're young, for someone to just like, it's so easy. And I more talked about it. And I've had so many people that had the opportunity to make such a difference in my life and did the opposite.
Yeah.
We're just fucking shitheads.
Yeah.
And so it's so important for, I think, older people to realize what they can do to help mold a young person's life, a wrestler's life in this. And for me, college football, a lot of shitheads over there, so it's good to hear that he did the right thing, especially just a local guy, but local guys can be heroes like that.
His biggest thing was paying it forward. And I feel like that I've carried that with me this whole time. I was working at a Checkers to pay overnight to pay for wrestling school, and there would be times where he wouldn't even take my money. He was like, bro, just it's all good, know.
And I am assuming he didn't have millions in the bank to just
no,
take your
not
money.
not at all. You know, and he drove me to work every night after training. Like we would train. It was 3-4 times a week. And as soon as we were done, he would drive me to work, and he'd always give me advice, and always. And it wasn't just like a wrestling thing; it was almost like like a dad thing. And my mom got to meet him and stuff like that, and he would always go to my job and fuck with me. And yeah, he was such a cool dude, man. And
You slide him some checkers for free under the table?
100%. Yeah, especially he was giving me free tuition, bro.
Yeah.
I gotta hook him up.
We had a guy in high school that at McDonald's, and we'd be like, "Can we get the special?" And he would just go like all the racks.
Yeah.
Call back to McDonald's there.
But
That's what I knew my town was getting.
but yeah, he. It's funny because I remember getting my diploma. I didn't go to graduation. I didn't go to prom. Nothing. I just the next day I was like, "Here you go, sir."
Wrestling
Well,
training, prom and
Yeah.
graduation wrestling training, or shows?
No, like I graduated. What?
Wrestling training.
Like you didn't go to your graduation because you had wrestling training.
No, I didn't go to my graduation because I was so excited once I got my diploma. I was like, I just want to start wrestling
Gotcha.
school.
Gotcha.
And I
Skipped everything, yeah.
Yeah, and I still get heat for it. But
But you know it's the right move. It makes for a better story.
yeah, you're right.
Dude, everyone goes to those things, and they're never like...
My family just wanted the pictures, and I was like, yeah, well, now you have pictures of me in front of 10,000 people in a fucking arena.
Who'd you train with? Ortiz?
I trained with a few people. It was a school ran by Earl Cooter. I don't know if you know him.
Yeah, I know
Long Island
Earl.
guy. Yeah. And Dan Barry and Grim Reefer.
Okay.
Yeah, those three guys kind of had a hand very early on in my career.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those were my guys. When I found the school, I remember Cooter was like, all right, run the ropes. I couldn't run the ropes.
You're like, sir, I'm 750. I can't run.
No, I wasn't big at the time. I was
See the call back there?
I had just got out the military, so I was in shape, actually. That happened afterwards. I broke over ex-girlfriend. I got depressed, and it was bad times. And I was eating nothing but McDonald's.
There you go. There you go.
Boom.
And then that's when I turned into 750. That woman. Just thinking about it. But yeah, I trained with them. But to go back, I specifically running the ropes and Cooter going, the shit. You know what I mean? And I was just, and then it made me more determined. He was the type of person who just like kind of shit on you if you're not good. And he was just like, that's shit. And then I was like, I'm going to learn how to run the ropes. Because I kind of knew how to bump because of backyard wrestling. Because you kind of have to learn how to. If not, you're hitting park mat. And if you fall messed up, then it's not a good time. So we were kind of self-trained at the moment. So it was really easy to pick up a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
What was your guys' backyard wrestling names?
I was suicide.
There you go.
Yeah. Before TNA.
Yeah, it's fitting, right? When you saw Suicide at Impact, were you like,
I was like, you bastard.
I'm the rich?
I started out as Dogs, right? Just Dogs.
With a Z.
With a
Cool,
Z.
cool.
And then I eventually became Angel Ortiz and now Ortiz.
Okay.
Yeah, I took my backyard wrestling name with me. So he changed
Dogs?
it.
You should still...
No, Ortiz.
Okay.
I was Dogs for a little while.
Was it DAWGZ?
Yeah.
How are you something plural?
I don't know what I was thinking.
That's where the 750 comes in.
It's like have you ever seen Airheads, the movie?
Yeah.
Lone Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
There's three of you. All right, cool.
But
And
there's
then you
three.
guys. Well, tell me the love story of looking into each other's eyes and saying we're going to be with each other for the next 10 years.
I do. You could tell it.
Right? All right. So we knew each other from backyard wrestling. He kind of left
You're like,
the
oh
backyard
shit,
wrestling
that's
scene.
suicide.
Yeah.
That's
He
Dogs.
we left and went to go get trained separately, right? I went off to the military. We hadn't seen each other in a while. We popped back up. We already had like a couple of years training underneath our belt. And we were at a random show together, right? And then he pops up with one of his friends. And I hadn't seen him since he suddenly had a growth spurt and he became the man that he is now. Before, he was just... I will always say this and he'll always deny it, but he was like a kid with a choker on. He had painted nails black. He was like all punk rock. He was a scene kid, you know what I mean? And then when I saw him again, he was just like, this is a grown-ass man. Like, what the hell happened to you in 3 years? So...
It wasn't 3 years.
Whatever, 3, 4
I've been
years.
through a lot, Dogs.
So we were just shooting the shit, and he had just came back from Puerto Rico. He was living in Puerto Rico for about a year, and he was like, I need to find a job. And I was working at a bookstore, the now defunct Borders books, and I worked as a security guard, and they were actually hiring people. I was like, hey, they're hiring people in my job. I can recommend you and see what's up. And he was like, please. He followed up. He got the job. And, we worked together. So all we did was talk about wrestling 24/7. Like, in between everything. All we did was nerd out on
Grab
wrestling.
all the wrestling books, all the magazines,
100%.
right?
Yeah, 100%.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So we bonded. We really bonded. Like, we knew each other, but we got closer, obviously, when we were working with each other. We bonded over Jericho's first book. It was, for us, it was like, this is the blueprint. This is how you do it. He was a journeyman, you know what I mean? He went everywhere. And we were like, this is what we need to do together. And we just kind of talked about it. We set out all these goals. We envisioned this. And then one day, he was training up in a spot in the Bronx. And he knew, do you know All Money is Legal?
I do, yeah. Was one of them the... No.
In China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pusher.
I just saw that on the internet.
He's still going.
So I was training with them a little bit in the Bronx and stuff, and they took a liking to me, and I was like, they were like, yo, do you have someone that you could tag with so we could do a match or whatever? And I was like, actually,
Yeah.
I do. And
that was the I do then, huh?
Yeah, that was absolutely
that was it.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I was so excited when they wanted to wrestle, and because we had watched them on the indies when we were younger and stuff, and
And they were hot for a second there. Yeah.
And
Which kind of makes me sad that they kind of fizzled a little. Huh?
yeah, they were getting
They could have,
there,
I think.
100%.
Yeah.
And I remember that night after training, I like ran home. I was like excited. I was like, yo, and I remember calling him, this dude, for like
This is back when I was depressed. I went
2
through the
hours.
breakups. So this is like, wrestling school in midst of like 2 or 3 years in, I got depressed, broke up with like this long-term relationship, and I was just really shitty. I was just like, I don't want to wrestle, I don't do shit. And then I gained all the weight. So he was calling me, and literally I would just go to work and be like, all right, go back home and just go to sleep. I was just in a shitty mind state. And he was calling me consistently, and I just wasn't picking up.
like 2 hours.
Yeah, I was ignored the phone calls, like, leave me alone. And then finally I get threatened by another friend. So he tells on me on another friend, and I just have multiple people calling me, and I finally pick up. He's like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? And then he was just like, go do this match right now. And I felt like I got yelled at by someone my same age.
You could have just chose somebody else.
Yeah.
I could have, but I was like that. We had spent so much time together working and talking about this thing, and we had the same mindset and wanted to do the same. I was like, this is our chance. This is our chance to see if we have something.
And obviously, I mean, I'm not skipping forward, but I'd assume you've told this story to Chris.
Yeah. A little bit. Yeah.
Right. I mean, it's so cool that, you just tell this story of that was your first bond, and now here you are.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Right.
Like when everything, came together, we had a moment where we looked at each other and we were like, wow.
Yeah.
Like,
really awesome.
I don't, I'm not a man of God or anything, but I do think there are like, I don't know, moments or, you know what I'm saying? Like that's, or something not meant to be's, and it's pretty.
But everything is put in place has a reason.
Kinda, yeah. And so for 10 years later, or whatever, maybe 12 years later, you're on national television with Chris Jericho as part of his journey. This is something he'll write about in one of his next 8 books that he writes.
Yeah.
But that one was the first, and it really got to you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Did you guys have a team name when you wrestled All Money Legal? Was it legal?
No.
No, not at the. We didn't have a team name yet. We came up with our team name maybe.
We were on a
couple
road.
months in?
Yeah, we were on a road trip to like do.
We were like, we need a team name. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you remember, our gimmick very early on was like a LMFAO type deal. So we wear all the animal print and went over the top, and I had the afro at the time. So I was like, yeah, I look like those guys. Let's do it. No one's doing that gimmick at the time. And one of our friends came up with it, and then it was.
And what was it? I can't. I just in my head, you guys were just LMFAO. It was like NHTSBK. What was it?
EYFBO.
EYFBO.
Yeah, entertaining your fucking balls off.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And then, So so maybe if you want to describe for some people what the New York indie scene is like.
At that time, it was the shittiest place in the world.
Because I have vivid memories of wrestling, and this is just one show for me at the Ludus Warehouse or whatever, where we did some training seminars together, and I can kind of where you guys. Maybe I first met you, or you were first on my radar, or whatever.
Probably, yeah. I think that was the first time.
Yeah, and I mean that sums up to me. That's what a New York independent show is, in a hot, sweaty, upstairs,
someone's living room.
Yeah, that's a good amount of New York independence, honestly.
Yeah.
Except for a few exceptions, but yeah, I mean it's definitely went down in past years. It used to be really popping, like back when you were going to New York. Like when you first started, like Ring of Honor days, early Ring of Honor.
Right, but I mean, those shows the good shows will always be good.
Of course, yeah.
But you guys, and something maybe you could kind of help me too is that in Midwest, we all have cars because we all drive to our place, but much like London, which I'm not familiar with, but also like New York, you guys take trains and buses to your wrestling shows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so like I said, the good ones will always be good, but the ones that you have to get on because they're the only ones you can get on. I mean, what are those like? And just
very much like the Ludus. A lot of just really shitty buildings with no ventilation, where maybe 20 people show up to come watch you wrestle, and yeah, but those days were awesome. You know what I mean? Because for us, those 20 people were 5,000 people, 20,000 people at the time. And we were just excited just to wrestle in front of a group of people other than our friends, what we were used to. And
always looked at those with fond memories, those shows?
100%.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it was just, we knew very early on, thankfully, that it's a process. And, just
thanks
like in anything.
Thanks to a lion's tail.
Yeah.
Thanks to a lion's tail, right?
Yeah.
And it's a process, and you got to pay your dues. And we were very, very heavy on that. Like, we want to do it the right way. We want to get respect from our peers and people we looked up to and have them be like, yo, these guys did it right. That was so huge to us.
Yeah, it started clicking when we were getting validation from the right people. And we knew, obviously, if you got it in the ring, you have something. Obviously, you get better with time, but if it's clicking. If you're not good, unless you're in denial, you kind of know if you have the ability.
So who were the people giving you the validation?
Early on, it was a lot of like the New York guys that we looked up to. Homicide.
Homicide really early on.
Low-Key, Amazing Red, and at the time we were training with SATs and Joel and stuff like that. And just having these guys that we had so much respect for and we had followed their entire careers and they're like, yo, you guys have something and you guys are doing it the right way and not rushing and not, just at that time and hearing it from those dudes, we were like, yeah, let's keep.
And we were getting paid nothing. You know what I mean? If we were lucky, as they generically say, like a hot dog or something. And that's
because there is a sea of people that are just like on the scene and they are what they are. And yeah, I'd imagine it's nice to be like, are we those people?
Yeah.
And then once the guys who are those guys, the D's and the key right, once they start like, I imagine giving you praise.
Mind blowing.
It validates that, like, okay, maybe we're not
those guys.
Those guys, right?
100%.
Yeah, and then I don't know. Was there a big break for you guys? Like, if I look at my career, there's just so many mini. There's never a big break. Because I'm the same way that you guys did. It is just a slow burn till you get good. But I guess there's little things that went my way that helped get some eyes on people, that helped move my career forward. I don't know if any of those spark for you in your mind.
I think once we started traveling outside of New York, I think Beyond Wrestling. Beyond, once we started going to the studio tapings at Beyond and doing those and just wrestling better people, and you get better. And
what was your into Beyond?
Pinky Sanchez.
Okay.
He was the first person to take us over there. And then I had, Chris Dickinson, I don't know if you know Jaka.
Of course.
Dickinson, Jaka, and I.
wrestled Jaka.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Shikara.
At Beyond.
And at Beyond, yeah. So we all have the same trainer. We were trained by Magic. And so I pretty much had a little history with them, and I had knew them from before. And but Pinky was like high on us because he was training with us at the Ludas.
He was also just high.
Yes. But yeah, and then he was already doing Beyond at that time. And he knew that I knew Chris and Jock and stuff. He was like, yo, you ever thought of going up to Beyond? I was like, not really. We don't really,
We don't have it in.
Yeah. And he was like, yo, hop in a car. Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
And we hopped in a car one morning, and we went to do that first studio taping. And then after that, Chris and Jock they were like, yeah, these dudes are,
We had 2 good matches back to back. It was back when they would just do studio, like in front of the boys and wrestling in the ring. And we had 2 back-to-back good matches. So Drew, the promoter, he saw us one match. We had a really good match. We clicked with the guys we wrestled. And he was like, shit, you want to wrestle again? And we're like, yeah, all right, let's wrestle again. And then a couple of matches passed by. We wrestled again, had another good match. And he was like, okay, you know what I mean? And he was like, I see you guys got something. He just invited us back. And we just kept going, kept going. And then, and then eventually we formed Pazuzu, our group, and Beyond. when we jumped you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice full circle, yeah.
And I always thought it was Pazuki. That was
Pazuki. I think you called us that.
And then what was and then and if there was something in between, but for me, I remember, and I might have even told you this, I don't know, but you guys showed up on Impact, and maybe I don't know. I just remember being like, oh. Yeah, like that's how it's supposed to work. Is like these guys I've seen them for so long on the hustle, doing the shows, doing it the way you're supposed to. And a little bit of me was just like, I guess that's what they'll just be doing. But I was like, no, like that's how you get young talent that are good and put them in a bigger spotlight. And was it did Conan grab you guys or?
It was a whole. So it started randomly at like 3:30 in the morning. I get a text from Strickland. Shout out to Strickland. I get a text from him at 3:30 in the morning, and he's like, yo, I guess he was filming Lucha Underground at the time, and they were on Cali time. And he was like, yo, Conan wants your number. Is it cool if I give it? And I was like, yeah, And
in your head, did you think, well, I guess he was in, I would think that would be like a Mexico hookup.
Yeah, that's what initially that's what I thought of. I was like, oh, maybe, this is our chance to go to Mexico and do whatever.
Which is probably I'm going to speak for you, but I'd imagine it's something you probably wanted to do.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah,
of course.
Right.
And especially like if Conan is bringing us, you know what I mean?
At the time, we were only driving to places and just mainly sticking to the Northeast. We went down south a little bit, but we were pretty much Northeast guys.
But like, did you, as Latinos, did you like envision yourself being like, well, maybe we could become like huge stars as lucha libres, and because America's not working or something like that?
I don't think that ever crossed our mind.
Yeah, that didn't really cross our mind at all, yeah. We were just like, okay.
Right,
yeah.
We were just going with the flow. We were just like, Conan, yeah, sure.
So, yeah, I get that text, and then I don't hear anything from anyone in a few days. And then out of nowhere, I'm making lunch for my daughter. My girl was at work, and I was home making lunch for my daughter. And he calls me. He's like, yo, I'm at work. I can't talk right now, but we share a joint email. He was like, check the email. There's an email from Jeremy Borash. And he's like, just check it. And he said to call him. All right, bye. Yeah. And I was like,
my boss was there. So I literally ran to the bathroom. I'm like, oh, excuse me a second. I'm going to go use the bathroom. So I ran to the bathroom, and I'm like, dude, my boss is here. I can't just be on the phone. I can't leave. Like,
and I'm telling him, I'm like, bro, I'm in the middle of making lunch. He's like, I get it, but like,
I was like, drop lunch for a second.
Yeah. And then he literally hangs up, and I look at my phone, and I'm like, what the fuck, And
he thought I was ribbing him. He was like,
yeah, I was.
Is that one of those things where it's just like, I mean, now you know about how the money in wrestling works and stuff, but is that one of those things where it's like, I don't give a fuck. Or was there a business mind set to you?
After we initially debuted. Before that, no. We were just like, opportunity. Yes.
Right.
Come on. Let's go.
Whatever the deal is, we'll do it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then...
give us less if you want.
Pretty much, yeah.
And he... I saw the email. I finished making lunch.
Most importantly, you finished lunch.
Yes, I finished making lunch.
He's a good father.
Because I didn't like... want my daughter to be bugging me while I'm on the phone. She's like, yo, I'm hungry. But I finished the lunch. I gave her the lunch, and then I went into the bathroom to make the call. And, he pretty much spit the whole idea that they had. They wanted us to do, the LAX thing. And, of course, we have followed the whole gimmick since it started and stuff like that. And we were like, yeah. He was like, yo, are you available this day? And I was like, we are now.
Yeah.
And,
When you guys, when you were, I guess, younger in wrestling and LAX was a thing, was that, is that, as a Latino kids, was that like important?
100%. Especially seeing, Homicide always come out with the Puerto Rican flag and stuff. That's,
Homicide was our guy. I went to all the early Ring of Honor shows. I'm on a lot of DVDs, actually.
But do you think like all the kids like you in New York and wherever was that like the idea of LAX?
Yeah. Especially in our circle. It's just like, this is our guy. Of course. How can you not relate to him? And because we had that connection with him, that we seen him on indie shows, Jersey Old Pro, stuff like that, of course, 100%. And just, because up until that point, there really wasn't that type of like Latin gimmick. Every other Latin gimmick was kind of like your stereotypical goofy gimmick or whatever, except for maybe like a Pedro Morales or, but for sure.
I still think it's crazy because the way everything just happened, like when we got that email, I had just quit my 9 to 5. Like I was like, yo, I'm over it. I was dealing with bullshit there. And I was like, yo, I had to talk with my girl and a few family members. I was like, yo, I'm going to quit my job and we're going to go all in with this wrestling thing and I'm going to give it my everything to see, and
he was like, give it a year. I'll give it a year.
Yeah, I'll give it a year.
I'll give it do all in with it.
I saved some money and stuff like that. And it was scary because I have a family, and
well, it's also scary because you're in a tag team. And had you said, I'm going to give this a year?
Well, I was able, I didn't have a kid at the time.
Yeah.
So I was just single. So my schedule was pretty much whatever. He had way more to deal with than me. But I was just like, I can still work a part-time job, whatever. I'll figure it out.
And follow his vision
100%.
of like, we're doing all shows,
were pretty
everything.
much always on the same. That's why we work as a tag team, because we pretty much always had the same goals. So I was like, hell yeah, let's make it work. And we were at the point where it's just, I feel like all wrestlers get to that point. It's either all or nothing. You can't do both because your other life is going to pull you away. You're going to be shot if you have to go into a regular 9 to 5 like he had to. He worked a 40-hour week.
I was doing that for 5 years.
Yeah. And we would drive. On the weekends we would go drive to Canada. 9 hours.
You just become a zombie.
Yeah.
There would be times where we're driving from Canada and he'll drop me off at work. Yeah. I'll have my work clothes with me, and
I'll
I'll
driving through the night, and he'd wake up just miserable and be like, ugh, and then
go to work.
Yeah.
And then like you'd want to then fine. I get off work and I'll sleep for 1,000,000 hours, but no, you have a daughter.
And there was so many weekends where that was my normal. It was like, we're gonna hit the road Friday. We'll be back Sunday. I'll go to work.
Sometimes Monday morning.
Yeah, sometimes Monday morning. Go to work and do my week, and go home and be a dad and do the best that I can.
And then I'd say, how great is it now? The best, right?
Oh, amazing. Amazing. I remember just to go back to the email thing, I remember getting off the phone with, so I had quit my job September 9th. Got the call from JB March 2nd, maybe. And I remember getting off that call and just like hugging my daughter so tight because I was like, this could be something, and finally like it's starting to pay off, and and it was a surreal moment, and it was just me and my daughter in the house. So it was like getting to have that moment with her and just.
She's probably confused. Like,
yeah, she's like, "What the hell is going on?" But like, just looking back at it now, But looking back at it now and seeing where we're at now, and just like going back to that specific moment, it's like I'm thankful that it's paying off, and
So a 2-part thing, I think. The guys that started making you better wrestlers. I'd imagine there's a handful of them where you start getting in there. And then, I don't know, the decision to come to AEW, I guess.
Well, back to Beyond, very early on, we were just wrestling just those Drew has always been tried to bring in the like top indie guys or unknowns. That's always kind of been his thing. But very early on working the Hoods, I don't know if you know them, the Minutemen, they were mainly based out of New England. They maybe did like NWA Fire back in the day and stuff like that. But we just clicked with them. We had similar styles. We clicked with them. And we started wrestling with them, and they just elevated. And then just getting in a Beyond atmosphere, you were like, oh, it's like kind of like a PWG. It was like, all right, we're going to have to step it up. Like, this is it. We step it up every night, every time we come in. We're trying to steal the show. And just going in with that mentality and then consistently wrestling names. Very later on in our Beyond career, we got to wrestle the Wolves, like right before we joined in Impact.
The Hit Squad.
The Hit Squad.
The Hit Squad.
I'm trying to think who else.
There was a lot. Drew like really looked out and made sure, like he put us in there with guys that were better.
Guys, Chuck T, like guys that were way ahead of us at the time.
And then after those matches, do you guys say to yourself, like, do you say, oh, hey, we can hang, or do you go back like, fuck, we just learned a lot, or
both.
Okay.
Especially after the Wolves. I remember because they wrestle that very Japan style of tag team wrestling. They're go. They're on your ass, and they don't really give you a moment. If your cardio's not good, you're over. But I remember coming out of that match, and we were like, and Davey was just like, "You guys are good." I had called the spot with Eddie, and he was just like, honestly, when you called it in the back, I thought it was going to be complete shit. Then you pulled it off, and I was like, all right, these guys are all right. You know what I mean?
There's actually a picture of us, because after the match, like, we sat with them in the back, and we were like, yo, tear us apart. And some guy caught a picture of us, like, leaning in front of them while they're giving us advice.
And a testament to them, they were really awesome. They gave us great advice, and then fast forward to us going in Impact, and Davey was like, oh, shit. We wrestled him maybe 4 months before that or 5 months before that. And he didn't have to at all. He had status there, and he didn't know what was going on with us, like their plans and everything. But he specifically like pulled us to the side, got an agent. He was like, yo, take care of these guys, regardless like of what they're here for. It just sucks we never got to wrestle them there.
Oh, on
we wanted
TV.
to. Yeah, because they had broke up as a tag team, and then Davey eventually left the company not too long after that. Yeah. But, yeah.
And then who was the Murderers Row at Impact that you got? What were the teams there?
Very early on, it was...
were you guys married to anybody?
We were... So when we came in...
Our first feud was Abyss and Crazy Steve.
Oh, yeah.
That was our first feud.
Yeah, with the Decay,
Yeah, Decay was our very first feud because they had just finished feuding with the Hardys. So because Hardys left to go back to WWE, they were like, we need the next team. Like they were the biggest draw at the time. And they didn't know. So they were like, let's bring back LAX. And that's kind of how it felt.
And we pretty much filled like that Hardy spot on the show where,
they weren't sure we were going to work. They were just like, if it's a wash, we'll just wash it and whatever. And when we went in, we wrestled, our very first match was DCC. We wrestled Storm and Bram with Eddie at being a manager for them.
Gotcha.
And that was our first TV match, and that was our
introduction.
Interview.
Yeah.
That was our interview. If we would have shit the bed, they probably would have dialed back everything. But we had a really good, solid TV match with them. All we did was fucking listen. We went and was just like, what do you want to do, Storm? Okay, cool. We got it. We'll fit in our little shit there. And we had a good match. And then everyone was just like, oh, shit. Okay, they can work. Because they were saying at the time, I forgot who was telling me, it was just like a lot of indie guys will come in and they look like they don't belong. Like they belong on the indies. But you guys were able to adapt. Of course, there's things we have to work on, whatever. But, and then the second night we won the titles. We had no idea what was going on. It was a complete shit show. There were so many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, I remember them coming to us while we were in a big circle. It was a big multi-man, and they come to us and they're like,
it was Scott D'Amore.
They were like, yo, call the match. We called the match, and then it was literally, LAX up, and he walks away. And we literally...
he gets off on doing that too.
Though. 100%.
We looked at each other and we were like, what the hell is going on here?
In front of the boys, we played it cool. We kind of break up the little circle.
And we were like, what the fuck is going on?
We're going to win the titles? Like, what the fuck is it? We didn't talk contract. We didn't talk nothing. It's just our second day there, and it's just like, we're putting the titles on you. We win the titles, right? we finished the loop, and I remember him being. We saw a very nice Jeff Jarrett. I have nothing but good things to say about Double J. He was always good to us.
Yeah.
And he came up to us at the very end of the loop, and he was like, "Hey guys!" He was super happy. He was like, "You guys taking the titles home with you?" Yeah, sure. Of course.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we left, no contract, no nothing. They let us go home with the titles, and we're sitting at home. And he's like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. He's super paranoid. I'm like, dude, they're not giving us the titles to take home and not going to offer us a contract.
Didn't I text you? I was like, yo, we should show up to Raw with the title.
You think you're going to jump?
Yeah. And that later that week, they offered us our first contract. Cool. And we were so nervous. We were like, are we going to do this, man? And initially it was a year contract, just for 1 year. And I was like, dude, it's 1 year. It'll go by super quick. Whatever. Let's just do it. You know what I mean? Right now, we don't have the ground to stand on to like really negotiate some more money or whatever it is. So we were just like, all right, whatever. And then we told ourselves in this year, let's make it so we have all the opportunities in the world. And yeah, fast forward to now. I mean, we stood there for more than a year because they ended up extending our contract. But our mindset was we become the top here and we either go somewhere else or we stay here or whatever. But we need to take full advantage of this opportunity. And fast forward, here we are.
And then AEW.
Yeah.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We
he didn't want to move to Florida.
Yeah, at the time I didn't but then of course, you know, the other guys started making it very difficult for us, and they were like they literally offered to have us stay at home. You know, we just fly down or whatever to do the tapings and all that stuff. And then, you know, money and they were making it very, very difficult just because they didn't want us to come
Super
here.
difficult.
You know what I mean?
Super difficult, man.
But
and our go between was Regal, so he's super nice, and he was super real with us too. He was like, "Dude, guys, no decision you make is gonna be a bad decision. You're young, you're fine either way." He was just like, "Just be real." You know what I mean? Think about the options, think about your families, and that's it. So he's super cool. I wish we had an asshole to deal with. So
to
we
make
could
it
be like,
easier.
fuck these guys. You know what I mean? And and we're I'm kind of jumping ahead, but this is after we're leaving Impact. We know we're gonna leave. We were thinking of staying, but things just didn't work out. So we were like, all right, AEW was an option, WWE was an option, right? So we're in Puerto Rico, and we talk about this, and we're like, all right, we're not going to burn our bridge. He calls Regal on speakerphone. We have this whole conversation, and we're just sitting in this car in Puerto Rico in the mountains, and we're trying to get good service. And we find a spot, and we're sitting there, and he comes up with this whole spiel. He rehearsed this whole thing, right, in his head to not burn a bridge and just be like, hey, thank you for the opportunity, but we're going to go the other way. So he starts his spiel, and Regal already knows what's going on. He goes, I'm going to stop you. Just stop. If you haven't signed anything, take a second. You know what I mean? Tell us what you guys want, and we'll see if we can make it work. You know what I mean? Just be realistic and tell us what's up. And we're like, keep making this fucking hard.
And then everything. We ended up, you know, asking him a few things, and they were just saying yes to everything, and I was like, man, come on, you know. And then also another huge thing for us was that schedule, and we, you know, our kids are young. We want to be dads. We want to, you know, I think that's.
We were thinking best case scenario, let's say they push us to the moon. Best case scenario, there's no way we're going to be home. You know what I mean? We're constantly
our kids are not going to see us, you know? Yeah. And I like, especially now, I refuse. Yeah, it's a sacrifice, and it's, at the end of the day, we're doing it for the family and stuff, but I refuse for my child to grow up and say, hey, we have all these nice things, but my dad wasn't really there. Yeah.
And getting into wrestling, you knew that in order to be successful, you would have to sacrifice that.
Yes.
Right? And how nice is it that the business has changed?
Yes. 100%.
At least where we're at, to the aspect that is, you can now have best of both worlds.
100%. And I think it's the greatest thing in the world. That we get to still live out our dream, you know, make good money, support our families, but also get to be dads and get to be home.
Yeah, I love it. I now, before I became a dad, I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, I'll do whatever. But he was in a different mindset. Then I had my child, and then he was like, I told you.
Yeah,
I told you.
I was 24
I
when my
man.
daughter was born, so I was still, young and had to deal with a lot.
My pullout game was better.
And then the last thing I'll ask is, I know it's not crazy yet, but you guys come, like you said, from where you come from. You bought anything dumb yet?
Have I bought anything though?
Yeah.
I bought a car.
You bought a car?
But a reasonable car.
Yeah.
I got a soccer mom car.
Attaboy.
Yeah. It does good on gas. And honestly, that's about it. I've been saving money, me and my girl trying to buy a house.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get married in the whole 9 yards. So I'm worried about that. I'm in full dumb mode. So luckily, I got signed when I did. If I was 20,
Right.
I would be broke.
Yeah.
100%. I'd
Yeah, it makes sense. Like myself too. Like I never went from like big money right away. It was just every year it just went up
Yeah.
and up and
Yeah,
up
yeah.
and up, and then to be like,
Yeah.
I know how hard I worked for money. I'm not going to throw it away.
Exactly.
I grew up, with my mom, single mom, 5 kids, on welfare and all this stuff, so we didn't have a lot of money. So when we started making this money, I was like, I never want to be like that again.
Well,
and that was
But it could go both ways.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
But-
you could be like, oh man, I grew up like this, so
Right.
fuck
yeah,
this.
100%.
Yeah.
But I still to this day is like, I never want to go back to that. That's one of my biggest fears is my daughter having to grow up needing. I know that feeling and I hate it. I hated it. And but I bought a car and a nice apartment.
There you go.
And I just save a lot of money. Thankfully, a lot of the veterans we came up around and we were fortunate enough to get that
Pay your
good
taxes,
advice.
save your money.
Yeah, pay your
That's the biggest thing.
taxes.
Pay your taxes,
It's
save your money.
it's not what you make is what you save,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and we take that shit to heart.
Seriously, yeah.
So
Well, dudes, I hope there's 2 kids in a Borders bookstore right now listening to this podcast right now, and you can inspire them.
Yeah,
Appreciate
that'd be
it.
awesome.
thank you, Colt. Thanks
Yeah.
for having us,
Thanks
man.
for being on.
Hell yeah.
man.
You can find Santana on the internet, Twitter and Instagram at Santana_proud, Ortiz on Twitter and Instagram at Ortiz_powerful. You can also buy their t-shirts and support them both, ProWrestlingTees.com/Santana Ortiz. We are done for the talk for this week. Another fun episode with AEW talent. Please check out AEW on Wednesday nights. Before we leave, though, please stick around for the plugs and
upcoming events.
All right, all past archives are ad-free at patreon.com/Colt Cabana. For $1 more, you can also get a full Instagram live call-in show. Never before seen Colt Cabana content. Let's Watch Wrestling, Art of Wrestling live videos, and so much more. Twitch.tv/Colt Cabana. I'm on there all the time playing wrestling Jackbox games. I'll play them with you if you subscribe. I do a D&D show called Critical Botch with AEW wrestlers and a whole lot more. Grab some merchandise, ColtMerch.com, DigitalColt.com. I ship it from my very own apartment. I'm very proud of that fact. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they are all at Colt Cabana. ColtWrestling@gmail.com is my very public email. That's where you can hit me up for shows, conventions, or any business or non-business stuff, or send me something fun to my P.O. Box, which can be found at the bottom of my website, ColtCabana.com. Upcoming events, I'm only doing AEW. There are safe tickets being sold for all AEW events in Jacksonville if you'd like to come to a show. AllEliteWrestling.com. Intro music is by the Ukulele Teacher on YouTube. Outro music by Superfun, Yeah, Rocket Ship. Podcast cover art and design by Jimmy Lee. The photos by James Musselwhite. Thanks to our sponsors, EatRight.life, BlueChew.com, MyBookie, and of course, OneHourTees.com. They help run ProWrestlingTees.com. That's basically where you can buy all cool wrestlers t-shirts. And of course, my wrestling shirts are there too. ProWrestlingTees.com/Colt Cabana. Thanks to my Patreons over the $10 tier. Hold the Line Harry, Lee, Brian, Joseph, Jocelyn, Maureen, Aaron, Molly, Stacy, Kim, Ernie, Jeremy, Johnny, Adam, Amanda, Jim, Caleb, Tristan, Josh, Tabitha, Jay, Ismail, Tam, Seth, Stephen, Jesse, Mary Kate, James, Matt, Samuel, Michael, Fred, Nash, Gut Pocket, Davey, Stephen, Vicken, Anthony, Nick, Arlen, Dean, David, Joey, Jimmy James, Tom, David, Jeff, John, Cody, Nicholas, Chris, Nigel, Adam, Tom, Claire, Sammy, Robert, Juan, the Ska Man, Ed, Justin, Rudy, Joe, Caleb, Maria, Aaron, Victor, Christine, Murag, and Scott. It means the world that you would support at a $10 tier. That is the biggest tier that I have. You're always welcome to give more money. A couple people do that, and I do appreciate it. But it's a cool little extra thing. I know you dig it, and I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. We will be back in 2 weeks. I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to the feedback. Please tweet and Instagram these people on the show. Let them know you're enjoying it. Spread the word. Have fun. Stay safe. Wear a mask. This has been The Art of Wrestling. For Colt Cabana, I'm Colt Cabana. Thanks.